You keep crying out, "Where are all the godly women?" But the real question should be, where are all the godly men? Because the truth is God's daughters haven't disappeared. You're just not holy enough to find them. You say you want a godly wife, a woman who prays daily, submits in love, lives righteously, and honors God in her words and actions. But you're still living in lust, avoiding spiritual responsibility, lacking discipline, and neglecting the foundations of your own faith. As Pastor Kent Hughes writes in Disciplines of a Godly Man, train, discipline, yourself to be godly. If we confuse legalism and discipline, we do so to our soul's peril. This isn't about performance, it's about preparation. And you haven't been preparing. You want a spiritually mature woman, yet you haven't matured yourself. You expect her to lead the household in faith, while you haven't even laid your own spiritual foundation. You think you deserve her, but be honest with yourself. Are you truly the kind of man a godly woman should trust? Ask yourself, OD, would you give your own daughter to a man like the one you are right now? Saying, "I'll pray tomorrow" is not praying. Planning to read scripture is not reading it. Posting a quote on your story is not transformation, it's a performance. That's spiritual laziness, dressed up as effort. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. Because God doesn't give based on desire, He gives according to alignment and obedience. If you're only attracting shallow, broken, immature women, maybe it's because you're the male version of what you keep criticizing. You quote scripture, but you've never let it reshape your life. You talk purpose, but you've never let God break and rebuild you. So you keep choosing women you can save because deep down you know a godly woman would demand a man who's already been resurrected. A woman of God is not looking for a boy with a beard. She's not fooled by appearances. She's looking for a man of discipline, character, and structure. A man who follows God before he ever thinks of leading her. A man who fears the Lord more than he fears loneliness. A man who walks the path of righteousness long before he pursues a righteous companion. And if you do find such a woman, how will you keep her? Sure, she can carry a home. She can raise godly children. But she was never created to carry a man who refuses to grow. She's not called to carry the cross you keep dropping. She shouldn't have to survive spiritual loneliness because you refuse to build your own walk with God. If she has to lead alone, pray alone, fight alone, you won't just dim her light, you'll eventually lose her. And if she doesn't leave, she'll just survive. Emotionally depleted, spiritually malnourished, trying to feed a man who refuses to feed himself. That's not love. That's spiritual abuse disguised as masculinity. You love the idea of being a godly man, but not enough to abandon what's ungodly. You crave holiness, but only if it costs you nothing. And you still wonder why nothing is changing. But understand this. God will not entrust His daughter to a man like that. She's not your reward, she's His responsibility. And He's very serious about protecting what's His. Desire without discipline is deception. It's fantasy that will never become reality. As author Gary Thomas wrote in Sacred Marriage, a good marriage isn't something you find, it's something you make. You don't find a godly relationship. You build it by becoming godly yourself. And as Dr. Emerson Eggerichs says in Love and Respect, women need to feel loved. Men need to feel respected. But how can she respect you when you refuse to be respectable? So stop asking, where are the godly women? Start asking, where is the godly man within me? Stop searching for your rib until you've truly returned to your Creator. God said, "He who finds a wife finds a good thing." Proverbs 18:22. But to find her, you must first seek Him. Not by thinking about God often, not by praying loudly, but by obeying deeply. It's in the habits you conquer, in the decisions you make when no one is watching. Because she, God's daughter, is worth the cost of your sacrifice. D to your flesh. Live by His word. A man chasing after God cannot keep feeding on what weakens him. And a cat dreaming of being a lion must lose its appetite for rats. If this convicted you, inspired you, or called something out in your spirit, subscribe now for more bold, raw biblical content. Share this with a brother who's ready to grow. Comment below if you're ready to become the man God called you to be, because the journey starts now. With you, and with your obedience,